Hey everyone, nice to see you all here again. We have a relatively light agenda today, since most of us are heads down focusing on the upcoming NFT platform launch. But we have made a lot of progress over the past week on OUSD, so it'd be good to recap what's happened there and confirm what the remaining priorities are. Okay. If anyone watching on YouTube has not joined our Discord server, I'd recommend doing that at originprotocol.com/Discord. That's where you can find the back channel for this call and where we've linked the meeting notes for you to follow along. Let's kick it off with announcements, and maybe we can start with Josh on the progress with Curve.
Sure, let me just go ahead and share my screen here. My permissions are messed up. 1 second.
While Josh is working on that, I thought I'd just mention I was talking to a prospective member that might join our team at some point, and they were suggesting that we try to show more than tell on this call. That it looks like a lot of talking heads if you come here for the first time, and so it'd be great for us to use more visuals in the future. Josh, you want to give it another shot?
Yes, let's see here. Hopefully you can see my screen.
If we click watch stream, we can.
Yep.
Great.
Yep.
So yeah, some exciting progress on Curve and our integration there. So if you go to the Curve.fi homepage, you'll see that they've now merged in all their factory pools into the homepage. And so if you actually go here and search for OUSD, you can find us there right there on the homepage, which is great versus having to dig into factory pools and look through that. As usual, there's still some room for improvement. For example, in this drop down here, OUSD is not yet included, so we're going to have to bug them to get added. But nonetheless, still exciting progress on that front. We also got whitelisted on the bribe tool. So those of you who are not familiar, Andre built this tool where you can actually offer bribes, literally bribes, to people who will vote on your behalf and give you a higher percentage of the CRV emissions, which are the rewards that you get for providing liquidity to any of these given pools. And those percentages are set by VE CRV holders, and we can incentivize those holders to vote for our specific pool. And the more CRV holders vote for that, the higher the LP rewards for people who provide liquidity in our specific pool, which means that people will get higher CRV rewards, and we don't have to offer as much for the OGN aspect of it. So as you can see here, if you go look at this page, here the OGN is finally included in the mix, which is exciting. I ran some of the numbers because right now there are 5 other projects that are offering rewards, and this will be starting in 2 days. So ran those numbers. Come on. 1 second. And so I ran those numbers just to put some amounts on this so we can see what it would take for us to be the top pool if we wanted to do that. Basically, the assumption here is that the people who are participating in this are going to go for the best offer every time. And so these are the projects here that I'm highlighting what their effective APYs are. So the top one being Duck coming in at 30% APY, and that's costing him about $184,000 to offer that bribe. So if we wanted to be the best offer, we'd have to come in, somewhere similar to that. So anyway, all of this will be going to a formal governance proposal before we actually deploy any of this, but just want to give everyone an update. We're kind of at the finish line as far as having all of the stuff in place. The main thing we still need to complete is the precision upgrade. We also want to publish our latest report from Open Zeppelin so that everyone can see that. But other than that, we're pretty much at finish line and ready to turn everything live on the liquidity mining campaign.
Wonderful, Josh. Thanks for continuing to push that forward. You mentioned needing to do the precision upgrade. I know that's something that Daniel's been working aggressively on. Daniel, do you want to give a quick update on that before we jump into the next announcement?
Sure. At this point, the upgrade process works, and I've tested the scripts that both decide what to be upgraded and do the upgrade. Is to test that there's no way that somebody who's integrated with OUSD can be confused after we. Part is to test a whole bunch of transfers from real accounts, or in a fork environment, but test a whole bunch of transfers like from everything under the sun. Maybe just replay all the transactions that have happened in the last couple of weeks or something to see. But I think the hard part is now over as of this morning. So I'm guessing it should be the end of this week.
Daniel, how confident are we that this precision upgrade is not going to cause any problems for AMMs or centralized exchanges that have integrated OUSD?
For AMMs that just treat OUSD as a standard ERC20, the precision upgrade is completely invisible to them. You do a balance of, you get the same number you had before. That's the case. It's already, as of today, I'm very. So you get the same transfer. It's good. The only could have issues is something that has integrated into OUSD's watching the credits per token ratio of an individual account, or by watching OUSD's overall credits per token, or watching the and we'll put in a backward on the credits per token, so there'll be like a credits per token that you call will return kind of the low res version that it was before, so it looks the same, acts the same, and then you'll have a new high res method that you can get the bigger values from. The tricky part is which any number that we have touched with this either returns its old value, or we change the name of it so that it throws and reverts when you try to access it. So that in the worst case, any system that interacted with OUSD before and tied into the guts of OUSD either continues working regardless or transparently, or throws and breaks instead of them suddenly getting the wrong amounts. Because what we really want to avoid is someone getting the wrong amounts. But yes, we will need to let KuCoin know, and since they're integrated in with it, and I think SnowSwap, if that was their name.
Virgo X is the other one that we want to alert.
But they're not tied into rebasing though, right?
That may be correct. I need to double check.
Okay. Well, everybody are those that we know of a preliminary heads up today. So I will write an email for you to pass on to our exchange partners, just to let them know what's going on.
Cool. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah, we'll have a community vote flipping the upgrade switch.
Thanks, Daniel. Unless it's just me, I think your connection might be a little laggy, so you might turn off video before
Yeah,
we
I'm
get.
hearing you guys laggy too, so yes.
Okay, cool. Thanks. So I've got an action item there for you, Daniel, to put together that email, send it over to Josh, and then maybe he and/or Coleman can follow up with. Yeah, KuCoin being the main one. SnowSwap is who did the original credits per token integration, but I don't know if they're still doing anything with OUSD over there. So
Yeah,
anyway,
but I don't think anything's live. Yeah, I don't think anything's live with him right now.
okay. Cool. So the next announcement that I had on the agenda was that the Aave strategy was redeployed last week, which is really good news, along with a bunch of other upgrades to OUSD. And so, Daniel, if I'm not mistaken, 10% of the DAI held in
Yes.
OUSD is currently allocated to that strategy. Uh, Anything else you wanted to do there?
Yeah, I think we'll make a governance proposal to increase that to being all the DAI. The yields were better for Aave for a little bit, but as of today, at this very moment, they're identical, I think. But it will be good to have OUSD diversified into multiple lending platforms. So we'll probably move that up to all. We'll continue allocating as we go.
Okay, we'll look forward to that governance proposal, and obviously long term, we want to have a different process in place for allocating funds more efficiently and having more uh, decentralized decision making there and more
Absolutely.
community
Yep.
involvement. But right now, we're just deploying these strategies, and so we want to go slowly and make sure that everything works as intended. Okay, so the next announcement that I had on the list was that Doman's analytics reports are now live, both in email coming, I think, once a week, and then also on our analytics site. Although we're not currently linking to these reports, I don't think. Doman, is that all correct? Anything you wanted to add there?
Yeah, currently, I think the link in the email just links to the general report page. I can make it link to the specific report if that'd probably be useful. Yeah. Yeah, nothing more to add other than I said on the stand up, and that's that I'll just spin up a separate instance that's going to be working on these reports because it's just too unpredictable. To make it work on the one who's also serving the website ousdanalytics.com. So yeah, that's basically it.
Cool. And if anyone wants to receive those emails every Monday, I think it is, can they just ping you to be added to the list until we someday add a funnel for that or something?
Yeah, anybody who has access to an env key, there's an environmental variable where like emails can be just simply added or removed until we're going to need something more practical. But yeah,
Okay.
if you ping me, I can add them freely inside.
Okay. And they can find you in Discord, of course. Doman G is the username.
Yes.
So I think the next phase for this project is probably we probably need to mock up something for making this more visual and digestible on analytics page, and then we'll link to it. The only other thing there that we wanted to look into was somebody in the community had flagged Dune Analytics as something that we might look at as an out of the box solution that community could help drive and could help come up with new charts and graphs and stuff like that, and ask additional questions of the data. That would specifically be for on-chain data, of course, and there are things that we're measuring and wanting to understand about the application layer on our DApp. But that's something that we'd like to look more into this week. Is that something you'll be able to do, Doman?
I was thinking of how to of the next things to do. That it'd be better that I first add to the analytics the types of routers or contracts that are used to swap OUSD, and,
Yep.
and just for the reason because that's going to be that backend is going to share like 80% of the task with the transaction history API that needs to be built. So once that part of the analytics is done, I think like probably 80% of the backend to serve per account transaction history is going to be done. So it's going to be more or less just front end for that part. So I thought like two birds with one stone.
Sure. That sounds good. Let's just make sure that we get to a point where we're all looking at this data regularly and can see it in a digestible way, because you've done a lot of great work to collect it all and organize it.
Yeah.
So let's put it to use. Any other questions or comments about analytics for now? Anyone? And then it looks like someone had added an announcement about the big OUSD upgrade being complete. I guess I sort of referenced that a minute ago, but anything else to say about that?
All the new addresses have been updated in docs, so you can see the new contract addresses, ENS names have been updated as well. So all of that is up to date. Huge thanks to everyone who did that deploy and verified it. It was a pretty massive undertaking, so big thanks for everyone who worked on that.
Yeah, huge thanks to Tom and Daniel for doing all these fixes and upgrading the protocol.
Great. And Josh, you mentioned the Open Zeppelin audit that was related to all of that. Any idea when we might publish that report, or when they might?
We just need to coordinate with our team. Now that everything's upgraded, we're ready to do that. So we just need to coordinate with them on the best timing.
Okay, I put it on the list with you as the owner, Josh, if that's okay.
Sounds good. Yep.
Okay, that brings us to sprint planning, unless anyone has any other announcements they want to flag, and feel free to interrupt me if you do. But we are in the middle of a 2-week engineering sprint that would end a week from Thursday. And the first project on that list, we should go through all of them, I think, since there aren't that many. The first one on that list is deploying the new rescue feature to OGN staking contract, and then transferring that ownership to a new governor. Maybe Frank, do you happen to know where we stand on that?
Yeah, I chatted with the UPAN last week, asked him if he could drive this. I was gonna ask him if possible to do it by mid of this week. I haven't heard back from him, but I'm meeting with him this afternoon, so I'll get an update.
Okay, great. Daniel already gave us the update on the precision upgrade. That's the other big priority for the sprint. But we have a convex strategy that was built and not launched last week as a part of or in conjunction with the Aave strategy. But I think it is something we intend to launch very soon. What are the blockers there, Daniel?
So we've tested, it's written, we've tested it on a mainnet fork that money moves in and out and through it correctly. But we don't have as many unit tests as we would have to launch. So we're waiting on that one until the OUSD precision upgrade is done, because the OUSD precision upgrade is blocking the liquidity mining campaign. So this will be next after that one. And it shouldn't be that hard because it's already basically there. We just need to move from it works and we can see that it works to know that we know that it works. And it was audited.
Sounds good. Any questions or comments on that?
Maybe just timing. When do we think we'll actually get to that?
I think I have only 2 days in it to handle all the testing and stuff. It already has a deploy written, I think. So assuming I finish, or assuming, worst case, OUSD takes the rest of this week, although I don't think that would be full time on my time, but it should be deploy ready by like Tuesday of next week.
Okay.
And it shouldn't affect any other parts of the system other than we just deploy it and, move some funds into it.
Yeah. No, I'm excited to turn it on. Should help our yield considerably.
Yep.
So pretty excited for that.
Wonderful. The last two Sprint projects that we had on the list are front-end related. One of them being the update to the staking page for possible liquidity mining campaign. Let's come back to that topic in a minute, and I'll show what that might look like and pose a couple questions about it. Doman, I know that was something that you were asking about, but we also had the transaction history view that we wanted to build and then figure out how we want to link to it once it's built and we can play with it. So are there, where do those fall in terms of priorities for you, Doman, after you finish the analytic stuff you're doing?
Well, it really depends on how much work there's going to be, how much changes need to be done for the liquidity, for the curve stuff. If not, it's probably something that can be done. I mean, it's more or less done. Just links need to be added, and if there's not much UI to alter, I would prioritize that, since it's like probably an hour of work type of thing. And then it's just the other thing, the transaction history. That's probably gonna take more time. So I would prioritize that.
Yep.
Last.
Does that work for you, Josh?
Yes, that sounds about right.
Okay. Let me jump into a little bit more detail on that then. Let me see if I can figure out how to share my screen. Here we go. You'd think I've done this before, but I usually just watch. Do you see yourselves?
Watch stream. Yep.
Okay, cool. So we're talking about this page in the OUSD DApp, where you currently see something like this if you have already staked OGN, or you might see a call to action to, if you haven't done that yet, to choose what terms you want, that sort of thing. And the idea was that if we do a liquidity mining campaign, that we would add this new section at the top, and that it would point you to Curve, because we don't want to build, we don't want to reinvent the wheel on the front end to interact with Curve's contracts, since that's where the liquidity mining would most likely happen. So this is what Doman, I think, has already built out, and the question is what changes might need to be made if OGN staking were to stick around in conjunction with the possible liquidity mining campaign. So, Josh, I think you had mentioned either doing this and seeing what changes we would need to make to leave the call to action intact for OGN staking, and having them both live on the same page, both ways to earn OGN, either through OUSD liquidity mining and OGN staking, or maybe just not put this new section on this page and just point people directly to Curve. Are those the two options?
Yeah, those are the two options, and kind of a thinking here is just decoupling the two things, the Curve campaign and what we do with staking. Original thinking was to have one replace the other. and our latest thinking is to kind of have independent decisions there as far as do we offer liquidity mining rewards on Curve, and do we adjust the offer that we're making with staking, and having those as separate governance decisions for our community to weigh in on.
Domin or anyone else have any thoughts about this?
Yeah,
really
Domin, have you already implemented this already, or this is? You have, okay.
Is the worry if we would, just stick this Curve thing on top of all the content on that page, that there would be like too much stuff going on there?
I'm fine with that. I think it both makes sense to me from the perspective of, here are two different ways to earn OGN. We may just want to make sure the division between the two sections makes sense, but it seems like an easy solution to me.
Yeah, that's the same thing I was thinking. Probably because it's logically such a different thing. Maybe a stronger division is going to be required, but other than that, it should work. I mean, Ari should also provide input here, but yeah. Ari's not on chat, right? On the call.
He's not. But let's tentatively move forward with that plan, unless we get a better idea.
Sounds good to me. Anybody else, feel free to weigh in while we're here if you want. I'm just taking some notes real quick. And then the next topic on our product discussion was governor time lock. Frank, did you add that to the agenda?
Yeah, I just wanted to get a sense of what our timeline will be looking at for increasing the duration of the time lock. I think we should definitely wait for the precision upgrade to be done, and basically all the deploys to be done, right? So precision upgrade, convex strategy. We also have the staking upgrade. So I would definitely want to wait until that is done. And then personally, my thinking was to have some, to wait for the protocol to hit some metrics before we increase the time lock. Whether it's the number of mints or number of redeems, basically to have a high level of confidence that everything is working as expected and that we won't need to do any emergency patch. But yeah, just wanted to throw it out there, see if there's any feedback. I know Daniel, we discussed a little bit on Discord. See if there's any feedback from this group.
I think the main thing is getting that turned on before we do any liquidity mining campaigns. If I'm, we really want to attract whales to come in and participate. And if I'm, a sophisticated whale, and I had, my research team take a look at our contracts, I'd probably get cold feet seeing that there's no time lock in front of our contracts, and that we have unilateral power to do what we want. So I think it's absolutely a prerequisite for that. But I agree we should get our final deploys done before we throw that switch.
Yeah, I think what the compound situation showed us is that we always have to make sure that we're more agile than anything that's upstream from us. Now, fortunately, with compound, that's not too bad, since they have essentially a 2-day waiting period after something's approved, and then but also a 2-day voting period, and then a 2-day review period before that. But we basically always have to be, wherever we set our time lock in the end, we need to be able to respond to people who have changed things upstream from us. So we'll need to check and see what Ave's situation is with their contracts in that regard. We just finished one very big round of upgrades, and then we had the precision upgrade. And since the compound upgrade is coming right after or convex new contract is coming right after that, I could see keeping it for that too. But once the precision upgrade is done, I think for the near-term foreseeable future, that's all the big changes we're making to the OUSD contracts. And so I think that's somewhere in there is about the right time, give it a little bit to make sure that those two changes work, in like a week or days, and then we should be good to go to increase it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I share the same worries about an upstream protocol having an issue and then it breaks us. But yeah, I hear you too, Josh. I agree. From a OUSD user standpoint, the current time lock is not the best.
Frank, were there any metrics you mentioned you might want to see us hit? Any idea what those might be?
I was thinking in terms of usage, right, to have a higher level of confidence, but we are not going to find any corner case. Now, obviously, like we went through a security audit, like very thorough security audit with OpenZeppelin. I mean, we have been really exercising this code on our local branches very thoroughly as well. But I was thinking like number, either volume, metrics based on volume, or based on mints and redeem.
Given that we've switched OUSD over, or we've made lots of cheap ways of swapping into OUSD and out of OUSD, mints and redeems are no longer really a metric of how many people are using OUSD or gaining OUSD. They're happening extremely rarely, even as many more people are using OUSD and getting OUSD for the first time. So I don't think mints or redeems are a relevant metric for usage at this point anymore. So we just need to, if we're doing a metric-based switch, we do something else. But I think it's probably just going to come down to time, since I think Josh is right that we do need to turn on the time lock before starting the liquidity campaign.
Yeah, it's sort of a
I don't
chicken. Chicken or egg problem. We need liquidity mining to get more usage, and we need more usage to increase the time lock. John?
I was just going to say we could ramp this if we wanted. We don't need to go from 0 to 100 right away. We could do 12 hours and then 1 day, and ramp it up to 2 days if we wanted to.
I agree.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Yep. So let's finish these deploys, and then give us let's give us ourselves a few days, and then we'll increase the time lock. Let's say to 12 hours. I think that's a good idea. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good plan. Let's do that, and we'll just plan to get it all the way to 48 by the time we turn on the liquidity mining, assume that's approved by governance.
Yep, sounds good to me.
Sounds like a plan. Thanks, guys. And Daniel, since you mentioned Compound, I feel like I should ask, has anything new happened there in the past week?
Yes, they have voted to approve a new contract that re-enables people being able to collect comp and resets people's accounts sort of who had taken extra or had gotten extra comp from the Compound system. I think that's in the time lock right now, and I think it's going to go through tonight. Although I wasn't thoroughly checking that number, but it's been passed and it will be going live. So once that goes live, we'll take another shot and see about collecting our old comp.
Cool. So we've got one remaining agenda item, and I noticed there are a few people who might be joining us for the first time. So I just wanted to say that you're welcome to introduce yourselves in a few minutes after we get through this last topic. And so be thinking about that if you want to say hi and let us know, where you come from and how you learned about Origin, what you're excited about, that sort of thing. But the last topic that I wanted to cover was we're getting more and more, to no one's surprise, we're getting more and more requests for supporting layer 2s or alternate chains, other ways to get OUSD besides Ethereum mainnet. And I was thinking about why people are, why users and prospective users are asking for this, and I think it boils down to just accessibility of OUSD primarily. I mean, there are certainly some benefits to some commercial benefits to being on different chains. You know, we get more exposure, potential co-marketing, and just you know, it's a kind of a cool factor being supported in a lot of different ways. With different implementations, but what it really boils down to, I think, for most people is being able to get OUSD without spending a lot of money on gas. And so this is something that we had talked about at the beginning of the year. We were talking about different chains that we could potentially look into. If you look in our GitHub, there are some open issues where we started to explore a couple of different options, but I think one thing to note that Daniel had mentioned earlier is that minting and redeeming, which are very gas-intensive transactions, are pretty rare these days. I think going forward, it's probably going to be primarily power users who are doing the minting and redeeming. They're going to be doing that and putting the OUSD on the AMMs and on eventually centralized exchanges and the places like that. And so it's a very different world today than it was 6 months ago getting OUSD. And if liquidity mining campaign plays out like we want it to, then it's going to be that much easier and more efficient and cost effective to get OUSD as a first time and in large volumes. But that's not to say that there isn't a reason to also support alternate chain or layer 2 solution in the coming weeks or months after we get through all the upgrades that we're doing right now. But there are a couple of considerations and reasons why this wasn't like just an obvious route to go. One of them is that we always wanted OUSD to be fungible. Like when you send it from your wallet to your friend's wallet, or you buy something with OUSD, we want that user to be holding the same type of token as you. We don't want separate accounting for your OUSD versus someone else's OUSD. It should all be the same, and it should all grow without any effort by the user. And that's much more challenging when you're talking about doing it on different chains, because you would have to have separate accounting on the different chains, and there's a lot of different implementation questions that we had to figure out. And the other piece that I'm thinking of is that all of our yield generation, which is like, you know, a core component of OUSD, it all happens right now on protocols that live on mainnet. So if we, you know, wanted to have an Arbitrum version of OUSD or a Polygon version of OUSD, we would have to figure out, does it just represent OUSD that's on mainnet, or does it also have yield that's being generated on it in its own ecosystem? So that's why you know, we haven't done this yet, but it's something that we definitely want to look more into. And maybe I assume Josh or Daniel or someone else might have some additional thoughts on this too.
I think you summarized it quite well. It's certainly something we're thinking about, particularly when we see earning opportunities on other chains being very high, and that's where some of the highest yields are in DeFi right now. And so it's certainly something we think about. Just to help people think through it, there's kind of 3 different levels of how we could roll this out. So if we think about, you know, going to Polygon, for example, you know, the first level would be having the Polygon version of the token. It would be non-rebasing. You would lock up your OUSD in the bridge. Because it's a Ethereum smart contract, it would not be rebasing. Then you would have a placeholder token on Polygon. You could integrate that into all the different AMMs and lending platforms on Polygon, but it would just be like any other, you know, stablecoin, right? No rebasing. You could theoretically buy this on an exchange that supports Polygon or an AMM on Polygon, and now you could get OUSD, but it would be non-rebasing. The certain second layer we could do is say, okay, all of your earning is happening on Ethereum. That's where everything's integrated, but we're going to have the placeholder tokens on the other chains rebase in lockstep with the funds that are locked in the bridge. So, you lock up 1,000 OUSD in the bridge, you mint 1,000 OUSD on the Polygon side, and then as it grows, we'd have to have a custom bridge which would opt into yield. But then when you have 1,001 OUSD in the bridge, the Polygon placeholder token would similarly rebase to match the growth and the earnings that came from the Ethereum protocols. That is harder than the first version, but considerably easier than the third version, which is how do we actually integrate with the different protocols on Polygon or Binance Smart Chain, or pick any Arbitrum or any other chain you want to look at, and then say, okay, how do we actually deploy funds into the native protocols on that specific network, and then take those earnings and then share them back. And that's the hardest part of all, because we don't, it gets very confusing if you have one OUSD on Polygon, which is earning one yield, and another version of OUSD on Ethereum, which is earning a different yield. It all gets quite complicated. In an ideal world, we would take advantage, we'd love for OUSD to take the highest earnings from available across all of crypto, and then deliver those to you no matter where you want to hold your OUSD. But that gets quite complicated. And so it's something that would be fun for us to figure out in the future. Right now, just prioritization wise, we think the best thing for us to focus on is getting our TVL up. That will help us get more exchange integrations. And for a lot of people, just being able to buy this on Coinbase or Binance is really going to solve a lot of the problems that we have today around gas costs. And so that's really where we're putting our focus today. Get our TVL up, that gets us those integrations. Those integrations lead to more liquidity. Higher liquidity makes it easier to get future integrations, and so on and so forth. And so that continues to be our top priority right now. Any other thoughts or questions around that from the team?
I agree that our current strategy is the right one to go, and that this is behind what we're currently working on in priority. To what Michael was saying about it getting cheaper, it's true, it's gotten way cheaper. We focused on getting it cheaper, but there's still a big difference in smaller players being able to try out OUSD or use OUSD if it's like 20 cents to get OUSD versus $20 to get OUSD, because there's a large market of people who want to put $100 into some yield earning crypto thing. And at the moment, that doesn't make sense to do it with what we've got. And so I think a lot of what we have been hearing on wanting to do that is just to be able to get in and out of OUSD for extremely small amounts. I think that it's very much almost two separate yes or no, do we want to do it questions, whether having OUSD able to be on and transferred on a side chain or on a separate chain versus the yield earning on the separate chain. I think, I think one option that's we kind of I think the first one about non-rebasing OUSD on a side chain, although that's really easy to do and could check off the box of we have OUSD on a side chain, I don't think that actually solves anybody's needs or wants, because the reason for OUSD is that it earns yield. And so I think whatever we do on a side chain, it needs to earn yield. But I think there could possibly be room for an OUSD that is basically our current contracts deployed onto a side chain or a second L2 chain or something, using a different chain's lending stuff to earn yield. and maybe make some way that you could funge between them, or maybe you don't. You just turn them into dollars, send it back, and route them back out through, or something, or you turn them into a stable coin to hop chains or something. But I think there could be room for that, in that that gives you the benefit of, you have this thing, it works exactly like OUSD. You can, if you want to earn Polygon yields, you just mint OUSD on Polygon or buy OUSD on Polygon if you want to earn the other yields. And so that could be a lot simpler without having to get us to all the chain hopping stuff.
Yeah, and I think I sort of lumped the side chains and alternative chains together. But obviously, from a technical perspective, those are very different.
Yep.
Porting this to Solana is a completely different ball of worms
Yeah.
than bringing this to Polygon. Polygon, it's difficult, but there's probably some way to move the yield back and forth. Going to Solana, it's that's a whole other game that's would add a lot of complexity.
Yeah, you need a doctorate in math to not get hacked with doing that.
The last thing I would add is, the beauty of OUSD is how simple it is. I think that resonates with a lot of people, and I wonder. We also know how complex it is dealing with a lot of these bridges and side chains, and I'm sure there are users of those side chains who are not spending much time on mainnet. They might be native to those chains somehow. That's just something I haven't really gotten into much personally. But it's something I think we'd want to understand, is like, who is it, like you're saying, Daniel, who is it that we're serving by supporting the side chains, and what's their user experience going to end up being like? Because if who we're really trying to target is the quote unquote crypto mainstream, and they can just buy the stuff on Coinbase and not have to deal with any of that complexity, then it might solve most of our problem. But there's no denying that there's been a lot of adoption and a lot of traction with some of those that we talked about, and so we should definitely look more into it. Any other topics to cover, or any additional thoughts on that before we open it up for introductions? If not, it looks like maybe Tracy, would you like to introduce yourself and let us know what you're excited about?
Yeah, hey everyone. Can you guys actually see me? I'm trying to figure out the.
We can.
Yep.
Yes.
We can.
Awesome. So yeah, I've been here for 2 weeks as a contractor. I'm based in San Francisco, the Bay Area. Right now, I'm helping Micah on the product side. I'm currently working on some secret project, like a new innovation. So I guess most of the team members are seeing me on the Slack channel. I previously, coming from kind of the native, crypto side, I was working at Circle on product management using, building the product payments using USDC, and also leading on DeFi and CeFi projects over there as well. So pretty excited about the DeFi space. When I heard about Origin was not only a NFT marketplace, but also have a, the DeFi project on the side, is super exciting to me. To me, it's like it's the future. What I'm thinking, the NFT and DeFi somewhat has to be connected. To build new kind of projects and providing new use cases for the community. So very excited about that. Yeah, I'm relatively newer to the NFT side, so a lot to learn from the teams here. If you have anything you want to learn about me or chat about stuff, feel free to just DM me here.
Great to have you here. Thanks for joining us. Anyone else want to say hi? I think we know everyone else who is here, actually. Others might have dropped off. So I can go through the action items that I caught from this meeting, but feel free to interrupt me if there's anything else you'd like to talk about before we go. Josh, you're going to coordinate with the Open Zeppelin team on publishing the recent audit. Daniel, you were going to make a governance proposal for moving all the DAI to Aave, and then also craft an email explaining the implications of the precision upgrade so that Josh and/or Coleman can run with that. And then one old action item, I saw a comment from Coleman, so I wanted to remind myself about this. I'm going to revisit what the experience is like in both Argent Wallet and Dharma. Dharma fixed an issue that we saw a few weeks ago on mispricing when you're trying to buy OUSD. I think both of those are smart wallets, and so I couldn't remember what exactly we would like for them to do in an ideal world to be able to support rebasing or whatever it is that we want them to tell their users. So anyway, I'm just going to revisit those. I'll make it an action item for me, and then once we have a better handle on what those experiences are like and what we would love for them to do, then I'll hand it back to Coleman to maybe reach out to one or both teams if that works.
Yeah, we've talked to them. You know, they have smart wallets, but we don't, which means we're smart contracts, and so by default we're not opted into yield. And the problem is they don't offer any way for users to opt in, and so their users are kind of left without any options there. We talked to the Argent team before, and they were like, "Why don't you fix your contracts or create some? Well, like, why don't you automatically detect when funds are in Argent wallet and automatically fix it for them?" We're not going to do that because of the added gas costs, but we'd still like them to add a button for their users to be able to get access to those yields.
Gotcha. Okay. We had a couple of other old action items, but I don't think we need to rehash them here today. Any final thoughts before we go? Well, thanks for being here, and we'll be back same time, same place next week. Until then.
Have a good one.
Thanks all.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.